What up, Dealy gang? Dealy Kamel here. And it's time to talk about Cross Duel. I put off talking about Cross Duel's shutdown for a little bit just because you guys know how deeply I was in love with Cross Duel despite everyone telling me I was huffing copium. And rest assured, the Discord is celebrating the shutdown of Cross Duel. It just got its last content update, and it's only going to be seeing a couple balance patches going forward. And I kind of wanted to really get a deep dive into why a product like this failed so quickly. And I thought that the best way to analyze that was to first go over the timeline of events, and then I'll go over why I think the timeline of events with some other things caused it to fail, and then what I think you take away as a Yu-Gi-Oh player or a Yu-Gi-Oh fan of digital games, take away from Cross Duel failing. Got it? Great. So if you like videos like this, please like and subscribe and let me know what you think going forward. We really appreciate it. All right, let's go. So Yu-Gi-Oh! Cross Duel was first name dropped at the Yu-Gi-Oh! Digital Next event alongside Master Duel, and I think this is where the problems can first be tracked from. I think one of the biggest issues here was that this was revealed so early in its lifespan without any idea of what the actual game would be. And as we'll come to see, I think that many people's poor understanding of what Cross Duel was at a foundational level led to people's disdain with it going forward. This was in July 2021 when the Digital Next happened, and then the beta released in October of 2021. I played the beta, and a lot of the interest in Cross Duel had kind of died down rather quickly due to the fact that it was made apparent that this game was not traditional Yu-Gi-Oh! Instead, it was borrowing real-time strategy game elements as well as more simple card game elements using keywords like a game like Hearthstone or Legends of Runeterra, and it kind of added these two things together and then put Yu-Gi-Oh! Monsters and cards in there to make it seem like Yu-Gi-Oh! And I think this is what drove a lot of people away from it from the get-go. Most people were likely expecting some sort of way to play traditional Yu-Gi-Oh! In a 4-player sense, and that is not what they received. What they received instead was Konami's vision on how to approach this different type of card game that they have not made. And I believe that this was an issue because many people were expecting that if they were to venture out trying to achieve a broader audience, then they would, try to use something that Yu-Gi-Oh! Has already, tried and tested, or something that is a little bit more thematically Yu-Gi-Oh! Instead of trying to seek out these game mechanics that are already existing and are not traditional Yu-Gi-Oh! And just put Yu-Gi-Oh! On top of it. But anyway, this beta released clearly with the sentiment that the game was going to be a gacha and not really focus on making a unique and in-depth Yu-Gi-Oh! Experience, and I think this is what drove people away again. It wasn't all negative when the beta was released. Some of the more shocking things was probably how much effort seemed to go into the game. The game was fully voice acted with voice actors in different languages from all 7 Yu-Gi-Oh! Series, and was even going to be updated with Yu-Gi-Oh! Go Rush at a later date, but we're never going to know. We're never going to see those in-game updates now. The music was slapping. The 3D models were exceptional. There were a lot of good things about Cross Duel. However, I feel like some of the things that we're going to talk about later really, dragged the product down as a whole, led to it not being as successful. So after the beta, people's main takeaway was that when this game comes out, it is going to be a pay-to-win gacha game, and this game is not really going to find a large audience within the Yu-Gi-Oh! Fan base due to the fact that it is not Yu-Gi-Oh! And a lot of people foresaw that it would have a hard time seeking out the broader audience that Konami is trying to reach, because these game mechanics, they're just not up there with other games of the genre. They're kind of trying to be a jack of all trades, and they're turning out to be a master of none, and that doesn't turn out so well when you are competing against other really big games in the space. So after this beta, almost for a year, there was nothing on the game, no other betas or anything else. They went straight to a soft launch that occurred in June of 2022. So this is like 8 months after the beta, and there was pretty much no discourse on the game before that, and the game launched with the soft launch, and there were almost no changes except for the typical, reward changes that you would expect. The game going from beta to full release, the most of the rewards were just absolutely ripped away, and you were left with the bare bones realization that this is straight up a gacha game, and that most of the interesting game mechanics and other game modes were not actually like more unique ways to play Yu-Gi-Oh! Cross Duel. They were more like more modes that you had to participate in and devote resources to in order to grind the game more efficiently. And Cross Duel at a gameplay level, I do not think it had enough going for it for all of these modes to kind of just force you to use resources in order buy into things in other modes. I don't think that's how things like this should work, but rest assured that is how Cross Duel works, because it is following the gacha mentality. They want you to farm for as much different modes as you can, so you're always needing resources, always needing new cards, right? You're always in need of new things. And this is not a good look for the soft launch, and 3 months later the game would fully launch to a global audience, and once again it just failed to reach any player base within Yu-Gi-Oh! If you're just imagining, right, a Yu-Gi-Oh! Player that is already participating in a digital product, they are probably already playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel or Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links, right? One of the ways that you can actually play a Yu-Gi-Oh! Format and not something else. And, you're kind of counting on those people to also want to play Cross Duel by extension. You're kind of depending on Cross Duel to kind of bring them in. They're not really producing anything, a new, unique experience that they can, devote the same amount of time into the kind of results that they want. Cross Duel was never that type of game. I don't think that Cross Duel converted well on trying to achieve its broader player base in the West through digital card games, because honestly, card games that are developed as gacha games do not perform well in the West at all. Most card games, if not all of them that succeed in the West, have strayed away from that, or in the ones that still do have those gacha aspects that let you just buy packs, they have other features that are major parts of the game that add to the gameplay experience. Cross Duel, again, doesn't have these things, so it's really hard to get a online card game player to pick up Cross Duel, a game that has way less of those features. The game's global release in October of 2022 did not see a huge spike for the game in the West, as I'm sure that they were expecting, although they did release, marketing tutorials for the game, as well as begin to market it on places like YouTube and Twitter. I feel like the game just, once again, really struggled to find a player base within the two markets that they were trying to reach. Broader audience into online card game players that, is a huge player base that they are trying to tap into right now, or already traditional Yu-Gi-Oh! Players. And one of the key moments, where you can see this blatantly in action is in around late December. Konami created the King's Cross tournament, and this was a streamed event in which four previous or current Hearthstone streamers, Amaz, Kibler, Dog, and Trump, I believe, they played in a streamed Cross Duel event in which I think they played like 3 best of 3 games or something, and the best won, and then they did some Twitch chat duels, and people won like some prizes. To me, while I do know all of these streamers, these are 4 of the most influential Hearthstone online card game streamers of all time. And it is very clear what Konami was trying to achieve with Cross Duel. Once I saw this, they were trying to reach the broader audience that exists in the West for online card games, and they tried to use Cross Duel as a means to draw both audiences: the traditional Japanese audience that usually invests in these type of games, and then they try to reach the West through these kinds of tactics, the kind of influencer marketing Konami usually does. And oh man, I could just say that, dude, it was such a bomb, and I cannot believe that this is actually what they had planned for Cross Duel. And it actually shows in Cross Duel's app metrics, revenue, how much money they made in US dollars on the Google Play Store, guys. They made $2 million 6 months, 6 to 7 months. That is unacceptable for a gacha game, let alone a Yu-Gi-Oh gacha game. You know, $2 million, I cannot even imagine that that covers like porting costs or anything for the game. Like $2 million is really bad, so it is no surprise to me that this game is going to be shutting down in September. It was totally unprofitable. And going forward, you know, what do I think you as a Yu-Gi-Oh player, Yu-Gi-Oh fan, Yu-Gi-Oh consumer should take away from this? Well, I think that this is concrete evidence of Konami's inability to run a live service game when they don't have circumstances helping them to make their live service product successful. So, you know, in the case of Master Duel, people wanted a simulator that they could play officially for years. And I think that with Master Duel, they more or less got the job done. It's a game, simulator, whatever, it gets the job done. And with Duel Links, you know, a lot of people wanted to get back and get in touch with Yu-Gi-Oh after not being a part of it for so many years. And Dark Side of Dimensions came out, and boom, Yu-Gi-Oh Duel Links touched a lot of fans. Cross Duel does not have any of that going for it. And a lot of Cross Duel is devoted to reaching an audience that has not played Yu-Gi-Oh. They are not a part of the Yu-Gi-Oh community, and they are not devoted to, or, you know, obligated, or, you know, encouraged to spend money at all on Yu-Gi-Oh. And that is just really, really bad for Konami when you're trying to bring in those people and then convince them that they should spend money on top of that. I don't think that that is a good strategy, and it definitely did not pay off. So in the future, you know, I would definitely like to see Konami improve their live service approach. You know, for Duel Links, they have been doing it since 2017. We can see Duel Links in the past couple years has improved, and some of the base features of Master Duel have come about because of them learning from their live service practices in Duel Links. However, you know, as usual, I would prefer they learn a little more, and evidently they didn't learn a whole lot because Cross Duel did not make use of anything whatsoever to help it succeed. It felt like once the game released, it was just released out into the wild and just left out to dry with almost no attention from a live team trying to make changes or alterations to the game or their plan to make it succeed. And that really hurt, man. And it causes me to be more wary of Konami's live service practices in the future. You know, some of the things we've been seeing in games like Duel Links lately have been scaring me. You know, them releasing buffs and nerfs to decks to generate, you know, sales on new archetypes and new boxes. Some of that stuff is really discouraging, and seeing how quickly they dropped Cross Duel after, you know, themselves making it flop really did not fill my heart with a whole lot of courage. So that's all I've got to say about Cross Duel. I'm disappointed that it's failing, but you best believe we're going to be keeping it alive as much as we can, playing the music, sharing the artwork, all that good stuff. But yeah, let me know what you think about Cross Duel's shutdown in the comments. It's sad to see it go, but maybe it needs to for Konami to learn something from it. So peace out, guys. Let me know what you think, and I will see you around.